Okay, so today at the end of the session, everyone should able to create the Azure VMs, and we should able to connect to Linux and those Windows VMs. So now here, in order to provision those Azure VMs, I'm logging to Azure portal. So Azure portal is a GUI based tool to provision the Azure resources. So here we are going to use portal.azure.com. So and here we should have a Azure account, and they're going to provide a free account for 1 month. Okay, so now here we can create all the resources in the Azure portal, and in the left side we have these all that options we have, like you can set the services, favorites, all services we can go through. And if you come to the all services, so now here we have the categories like some of the services are related to AI and machine learning, then analytics related services, compute related services, containers, databases, DevOps, general services, hybrid and multi-cloud kind of thing, identity, integration. These are not service names. These are the category of the services. These are the category of services. Again, if I go for maybe computer, say Azure VM comes under compute kind of thing. So here again, all these are the relevant services we have. Okay, so now these are the different services. Even AVD also comes under compute kind of thing. Like this, here we have networking related, and today we are going to discuss virtual missions. Okay, so what is the concept of the virtual mission is? What is the concept of the virtual mission? So virtual missions will provide virtual computing infrastructure from the Azure data centers, and we can use those for deploying our applications, web servers, websites. For this, we are going to create the virtual missions. So now here, in order to create the virtual missions, first we are going to create a resource group. If we have already resource group, that resource group we can use. Otherwise, we are going to create a new resource group itself. So now here creating a virtual machine that runs Linux or Windows, and we need to select an image in the from Azure Marketplace, or we can create our own image. So now here from this, first we need to choose the subscription. Then in the subscription we have free tail is our subscription. Okay, so free tail is the subscription we have, and we need to choose the resource group. So what is the purpose of the resource group is, we can create our own resource groups we can create. So what is the purpose of the resource group is, for the administration purpose, or RBAC. What is the meaning of RBAC is role based access control. So that means we have the different resource groups, we can give the different RBAC kind of rules we can give. Okay, so now here I'm going to create a R resource group name, my Azure RG, or maybe project wise also we can create your own resource groups. We can create my resource RG. So here we have created a new resource group, or from the resource groups also we can create it. So you can go for resource groups. So we can go for the resource groups, and from the resource groups also we are going to create the resource groups. So what is the purpose of resource groups is, like we can delegate the administration, or we can give the RBAC rules, or we can control the policies, or we can give the tax or pricing. All these we can control by creating the resource groups. So then resource group name I'm going to specify. So I'm giving my Azure RG. So now here, while creating the resource group, we are creating the region, but it doesn't mean the similar region we need to use. We can use from the other regions also. The subscription is disabled mostly. Tomorrow I'll use other account. That free account has been expired, it seems. So we are going to get 30 days for this. Tomorrow I'll use another account. So now we'll try to create the Azure virtual missions. So everyone try to create Azure virtual missions. So now here we are going to create the Azure virtual missions we are going to create. So in the Azure virtual missions, so we are going to use our subscription and resource groups. As of now, we have this resource group. Cloud Citrix is the resource group we have. That resource group I'm going to use. Then virtual mission name. So this virtual mission name is not the DNS name. This is just one like uh, a tag kind of thing itself. This is not uh, a DNS name. So internally we are going to get one DNS name. So I'm giving here my Azure Windows VM I'm going to use, and region, which region you want you can choose. So these all the regions are the different AWS geographical locations. So these are the different geographical locations we have. So which one we want we are going to choose. Okay, say even we have a for this account which are recommended also, they're going to give, and security type we are going to use trusted images. All these we are going to use. Okay, so then this is very important option. Availability, for the high availability. So as of now we are choosing no infrastructure redundancy is required, but for the critical servers it's recommended to go for either available zones or availability set we can choose. Okay, say either available zones or available sets, or we can use that, distribute those VMs across the zones and fault domains at scale. So these are all the different options we can choose. Available sets also we can use. Okay, so now here these are the available options we have. Then we need to choose the image. So what is the meaning of images? See, image is having the pre-configured OS template. It's a pre-configured OS template. So what is this pre-configured template is? What is the pre-configured template is? This is having already Windows 2019 data center, but here we have the different images we have. So I don't want a Windows server, then Ubuntu server 24.04. This is the Linux version we have, or we have a Ubuntu server, say SUSE Linux, Oracle Linux, Red Hat, okay, say Debian, say Windows Server 2022. So as of now, we have Linux or Windows servers we are going to maintain. So those Windows servers and Linux servers we are going to maintain. Okay, so it depends upon our requirement. We need to choose, and some Windows 11 also they have given, but normally technically that virtual server is server class, but as they kept the name as virtual missions, even they're giving even the Windows desktop class also. Okay, so then here as of now we are using inbuilt which have been provided by Azure, or we can see all the images also. So here there are some thousands of images are available, and we can divide them into our my images, shared images, community images, or direct shared images, or we can purchase from the marketplace. The marketplace is the third party companies also can keep the images, and they may charge the money for the images itself. They may charge the money for the images itself they are going to charge, and for that also we need to pay the money. So as of now, if you choose the normal images shared by Azure, we no need to pay the money for. So mostly we are using the community kind of images. Okay, so but we need to definitely verify the trust of the provider also. So as of now, we are going to use Azure provided images. Say here, these all most of them are Azure provided, and we are going to use Windows Server 2019 data center, and it's a free services also. It's eligible. Okay, so then architecture, this is AMD and this is Intel, but as of now for Windows it's supporting Intel itself, and run with Azure Spot discount. Okay, if I use the Spot discount, what is that advantage of Spot discount? Unused resources in the Azure data centers can be allocated to this VM, and what is the advantage is we are getting the cheaper price. But pay as per the usage if we go, we can use till whenever you want, you can terminate. But when we go for the spot discount, the termination is not in our control. Okay, so whenever Azure got another VM request, then they're going to terminate this instance, this VM they're going to terminate. And what is the meaning of the sizes? So we have the different hardware, CPU, memory kind of options are available in the Azure. Depends upon the usage. We need to choose the right size of this image size. Okay, so here we have the different sizes are available, but as of now we have chosen standard DS1 D series we have, and in this we are getting one virtual CPU and one 3.5 GB memory, and this billing is around 7,100 per month. So this is in the Indian rupees, 7,100 rupees we need to pay for this. Okay, so then hibernation is not enabled, maybe for other hardware, but here just go through all the sizes available in the Azure itself. So we have a vast set of options are available. So here we need to choose different categories of hardware also. Depends upon our requirement. We can categorize them into general purpose, compute optimize, or memory optimize. Like this, here we have the different options are available. And even before this itself, we can calculate the pricing also. Just spend some time because we need to give the estimation also for the client. For 1 year, this is the billing we are going to get, these many VMs we are going to use. So we need to get the approval for all this. Okay, so most of the infrastructure related also, we need to calculate the cost. Okay, so once we calculate all this, we need to uh, use the instance size, all this. So as of now, we are going with the basic options. That's for general purpose. We are going to use D series kind of thing. Okay, standard DS1 V2, and we need to tell at least 5 to 6 different sizes. We should tell. Then here, uh, what is the default user for Windows Server is administrator, but Azure has disabled administrator account. So now here the administrator username we need to specify, but some of the keywords have been disabled. So now here I can't use administrator. So username like a reserved word. That administrator is a reserved word. We shouldn't use that. Okay, and we shouldn't have the special characters also. All this, and it should be 1 to 20 characters long. Then I'm going to use Azure user. Okay, I'm going to use the Azure user, and I'm going to set the password. I'm going to set up the password. So now here I'm going to minimum we need to use 12 to 123 characters. Okay, I'm going to use 12 to 123 characters we need to use. I have configured the password also. Normally in the AWS, we are going to get a SH key for Windows also. We need to submit that key, and they can generate the password. And even in the Windows AWS, they're giving admin login also. But for the security purpose, Microsoft Azure is not providing admin access to the Windows server. but we are creating one user. That user have the admin permissions. Okay, but administrator is one of the reserved word. They're not allowing to create an administrator reserved word admin user. That is the reason I have given here Azure user and I set up the password also. Then, in order to configure this Windows server, we need to enable RDP port also. So we need to enable the RDP port. Okay. So if it is a Windows server, we need to enable RDP port. If it is a Linux server, we need to enable SSH for the remote connection purpose. We need to enable the inbound and outbound rules. But as of now, we are going to open RDP. Say here why we are opening RDP port number, because it's a Windows server, and to connect over the remote we require RDP port should be open, and RDP port number is, what is RDP port number? 3389. And if you are connecting Linux, then 22 port should be open. So we need to open the 22 port should be open for the Windows. Then here I have opened the 3389 port number. Then like you can review and create here straightforward that resources are getting created, but so just go through all these options. So now what are the different options we have is, we have given the basic details like what is the name, which image or size of the VM, network NSG settings, inbound rules, all these we have chosen. Now like we need to choose the disk options, networking options, management, all these options also we need to choose. But if you want to go with the default options, you can click uh, like here review and create. But for the initial days, better to review all these and go through and customize as per our requirements. Even in the production also, so it depends upon our requirement, we need to choose all these. Now here Azure disk is nothing but like for the persistency of the VM, we need to store the data. Even if the VM got deleted, or sorry, VM got restarted or shut down, the data should be persistent. When we delete the VM, disk also can be deleted, but we have the options. Even if I delete my VM also, the disk data can be persistent. Okay, so then here we can attach and for the security purpose, it's recommended to enable the encryption also. So we need to use because between the Azure VM and between the Azure disk, we have the storage kind of things. The data need to transfer over those. At that level, better to enable the encryption. Okay, so as of now, for the free account, they have not given the encryption, but in the production, better to enable the encryptions also. Then here we are getting an image size of 127 GB we are using, and premium SSD we are going to use. Okay, so then here as of now, this option, can you tell me what is this option? Delete with VM. What is the meaning of delete with VM is, if I enable this option, if I delete my VM, automatically my disk also is getting deleted. But if I don't enable this option, then even if I delete my VM, my data is persistent. For the important critical servers, it's recommended to enable this option. With this, what is the advantages? Even if someone deleted that VM also, at least disk would be there. Later we try to create that VM from the disk we can create. That VM we can create from the disk we can create. That is the advantage we have. Then here as of now we have chosen the premium SSD. Premium SSD is best for the production and the performance wise. If you want cheaper, then you can go for standard SSD. Okay, or HDD also we can use. So premium is recommended for the production. For dev and QA environments, you want to reduce the cost, we can use standard SSD. This is the storage types we have, and you can add multiple disk also we can create. Then we need to create the networking options. So in the networking, like we need to choose the virtual network, our own isolated virtual network we can create. So now when we created the resource group, automatically sorry, when we create the VM, automatically one network is going to be created. Okay, so here when we creating a virtual machine, a network interface would be created. But if you don't have the virtual network, a virtual network also is going to create. So today we are creating this option, but in the production, first we will create the virtual network itself. And by default we are going to get 10.10 dot series 10.0.0.0/24 for the subnet, and 10.0.0.0/16 for the VPC we are going to get it. Okay, so these all the things we are getting by default. And inbound we are going to open 3389 we are opening. Okay, so then here this is also one we are getting one public IP, one private IP, and that public IP also I want to delete if my VM is getting deleted. By default, that public IP is still it's storing. But what is the problem with the free account is the public IPs we are getting only 5 IPs we are getting. So that is the reason what we are doing is once we delete the VM, we are deleting the public IP also we are deleting. And as of now, we are not attaching to any load balancer, but going forward, this VM directly we can attach to either Azure load balancer or to the application gateway we can attach. Okay, so these all the options we have in the networking. We have these options. Then we need to go for management options. So now here we can provide the security also, and mostly by default they're providing the defender, and we can enable the identity also. So here Entra ID. So mostly we are going to log into or joining to Entra ID, and using that Entra ID account details. Say what is the Entra ID is. Previously we have Azure Active Directory. Now that Azure Active Directory itself has been renamed to Entra ID, and what is RBAC is role-based access control. This is nothing but IAM kind of thing. Identity and access management or authentications, authorizations, all those we can control through Entra ID itself. And here if I go for auto shutdown, this is one of the scheduling kind of feature. Automatically you can choose at what time your instance should be shut down. Okay, so that options we can enable. Automatically that mission is going to be shut down that. Okay, and the patching also we can do the patches, all these also we can schedule. Okay, so these all we are going to manage in the management. And monitoring wise also, for the production servers is recommended to configure the detailed monitoring, and the boot diagnostics level also better to enable the logging. Okay, so here with the boot diagnostics, if that VM struck at the booting itself, because we can't go to Azure data center to check that. Okay, so those all we can monitor through boot diagnostics. And after booting, if you have any problem at the OS level, those OS guest diagnostics also we can check. Then we have the health monitoring at the application level for this. Okay, so these also for the production servers, it's recommended to enable. And from the Azure monitor, we can monitor all these resources. From the Azure monitor, we can monitor all these. Okay, so for the production servers recommended to enable, all these options also better to enable. Then we have the advanced options. In the advanced options, we have the extensions like post configuration if you want to install any packages, or those all we want to run. Those all like post deployment configurations you want to run any script like uh, custom data or user data. Okay, so these all we can manage. So these all like uh, custom data is also nothing but launch scripts kind of thing. So we can use the custom data or user data. There is a slight difference. Like for the first time, if you want to run while provisioning custom data, even next time also, if those scripts want to run, then we are going to use the user data. Okay. So for the so normally in the Windows, we have this. In the normally in the Windows or Linux, we have the launch scripts. What is the advantage of the launch scripts is at the time of Windows is booting, those scripts are executing. Even in the Azure also, we can use the custom data in order to perform our automation scripts. Okay. So what is the difference between custom data and user data is custom data is going to be provisioned for the first time when it is provisioned. User data is throughout the lifetime of that virtual machine that's going to be stored. But they're telling don't store the sensitive details for this. Okay, so placement groups, all this also will discuss. Then you can attach the tags for the search and filtering. Better to attach the tags. Better to attach the tags. Okay, so then finally we are going to use review and create. It's going to validate all this. Okay, so one problem here we have is that subscription in the basics it's having some issue. So that is this free trial account of 30 days has been expired. That is the reason it is not getting created. Okay, so we'll create like in the tomorrow we'll create a virtual mission. So we'll create a virtual mission. After this, so we need to review and create that. After that, review and create. Okay, so then that virtual mission is getting created. That virtual machine is getting created. Okay. Should any doubts on this? Any doubts on this?
Shrikant, I got a question.
Yeah, yeah. Please.
So if you connect this to Azure AD or Entra,
Enter ID.
do you
Yeah.
need the same account? Like how we create all this test
No, no.
account? Like
Actually, with your local domain, if you want to sync, then we need to use Enter ID Connect. We can use.
okay. And
But,
if
say we
I'm
want to,
using my EDU account
yes, yes.
for
On
Azure.
premises, we have the local AD. That
Hmm.
local AD we can synchronize with Enter ID is one option.
Okay.
That means when you want to connect with your on premises.
So I was thinking of in like setting up a like for test account. Like I got EDU account for my work. So I can use that for Azure for students. But how
Uh,
should I connect this to my
no, no. By
Entra
default,
ID?
we are
Because
getting
Entra ID I got access like in my real account.
no, no. That we can't use because we don't have the admin access for all those, right? To create the domain, all those. What we can do is under the identity, we can use using the Azure AD. Will create an domain. Will create.
So I have to create another account
Those
for
all
this.
will discuss. So as of now, I have configured Azure user is the local admin kind of thing. But we will integrate even with the for the RBAC we can use Entra ID also we can connect. So for this we need to go for Azure AD and
Mhm.
we need to ensure Azure AD login should be enabled, and from that we are going to login, and
So
we can attach Entra ID users and groups we can create.
yeah. So if I'm using Azure for students now,
Which one?
Azure for students, like I got a EDU, my work email account, edu.au.
With that account itself have you created Azure account?
Yeah, I got I don't have access to Azure, but I got access to Entra for my work.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
when I
But that
when
is
I
your
use
enterprise
Azure for
account. No,
student,
no, that you can't use it
so don't use that. Yeah.
because that you can't integrate with your 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 enter IDs. That is another account, right?
Android is my work account as well, so
Yeah, yeah. That's
it's
we can't
I
integrate with
can't
our
connect.
we don't have the say technically it's possible, but you should have the admin rights for that. So at the
Okay.
two organization level also we can configure the federation kind of services.
Okay.
But you are just end user right there.
Now I work in IT in uni, so I got access to
Yeah,
Entra
yeah.
ID, but
That's there.
not to
Your
Azure.
just end user account itself we have. So there
Okay.
that we can't modify. Will while creating your Azure account, we'll get a one Entra ID account. Using that we can connect.
Okay. Yeah, I created one just for students as a student.
Yes, yes, you
Azure.
can create. You
Yeah.
try that the student email ID you have, right?
Yeah. I
You
got
try,
my staff ID, but I think that works for student as well.
yes, for the student you try to access, try to create an Azure account.
Yeah, so that's I created already, but I can't connect to my Entra ID. I think I have to create a new
Yeah, from that Azure
profile,
portal you need to go to Entra ID and create a one.
create a new one.
Yes, yes. Say
Okay.
suppose here you search for Azure AD or Entra ID. Okay, so from this you can create this.
Okay.
So here
Thank you.
by default, here you can create the users, all this we can manage. Okay, so
But it
then,
will not connect to my
no, no, that is
real
different
ID.
entity, right?
Yeah. ID is same, but it's created a
Yeah,
student like
we are
free
not
account.
having the admin rights for that.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so now here we'll try to create one Linux VM also. So we will create a Linux VM also. So now here we are going to same, almost all the options are same, but instead of using I'm choosing the resource group. I'm creating a my Linux VM. I'm creating. Then here instead of using the image, I'm using maybe Ubuntu like this. I'm going to create say Ubuntu, Red Hat, Debian, SUSE, Fedora, CentOS. These all the popular Linux distributions we have. Okay, so as of now we have chosen Ubuntu Server 2404. Okay, say 2404 is nothing but the version, and LTS is nothing but long-term support release. Okay, so long-term support release, and here uh, we choose an same type itself, same size, and we got one virtual CPU and 3.5 GB of RAM. And here in the Linux, we have two options for the password. Either we can use SH public key or password we can use. Okay, so either SH public key or password we can use. Okay, so what is this meaning is uh, which one is more secure is compared to the password. SH key is the secure way, and Azure is supporting both, but AWS is not supporting both. AWS is supporting only password base itself. Sorry, only SH key itself. There is no option for the Linux servers to set up the password base. Okay, so now here we are using password is directly we can set the username and password. And what is the default admin user for Linux is in the Windows we have administrator, but for Linux
Root.
root is that. But root has been disabled by root account has been disabled by Azure. Root account has been disabled by Azure. Okay, so then we can use Azure user itself. And if you come to um, uh, AWS, what's happening is there is no concept of password, only SH keys we have. There is no concept of passwords. Okay, so and by default root account is disabled. The root account has been disabled in like in the AWS also root account has been disabled. Okay, in AWS for Ubuntu if I use, okay, say username is Ubuntu itself. Okay, if I use the Ubuntu, my username is Ubuntu. But in Azure, what is the option they have given is we can configure your own username. We can configure. So you can set up the say suppose I don't want Ubuntu itself, but if you want Ubuntu also you can give. But some reserved words like administrator or root, so these kind of usernames have been disabled. These kind of usernames have been disabled. Okay, in Azure we have both password and password and SH keys. Among these, which one is recommended for security purpose? Which one is recommended for the security purpose? For the security purpose, is always recommended to go for SSH keys itself. Okay, so then, like in AWS, we have one more feature is there. Once we create SH key, we can't modify or regenerate the same key. But in Azure, we can change it. So in the Azure, we want to reset the password or reset the keys. Those are possible once you provision the VM also. Okay. But in the AWS, once you create the key pair, it's not possible to change. And what is the concept of SH key pair is we have public key and private key. Both have been paired and we are going to use two algorithms. Previously, we have RSA or ED25519. These are the two different encryption algorithms we have. Using these encryptions, we are going to generate the keys and public key is with VM and we are getting private key. So public key is with the VM we are getting and private key with us. Both have been paid and using those details we are going to connect to that VM. We are going to connect to that VM we are going to connect. Okay. So now here for the initial days don't use password even in the real time also is recommended to go for SSH key itself. And here we are I said right either RSA base or ED25519. Okay, and most of the companies now prefer to use ED255. Okay, so then I'm going to use ED25519. If you want you can choose. Okay, then we need to give one key pair name. Okay, so my first key pair I have given and this key pair is going to be downloaded once we click on the launch instance and that key pair is going to be reside in our mission. And what is the key pair we are getting is a public key or private key. So now here a key pair is getting generated by Azure and public key is with the VM and private key is with us. Okay, so then here we are going to enable 22 port also we are enabling because in the Windows we are connecting using RDP port, but for Linux we are connecting over SSH port 22. Okay, So here we'll use any SSH client like putty kind of tool in order to connect to that. In order to connect to that, we are going to use any of the SSH client, and with that we are going to connect to this. Okay. So then remaining options, most of them are the same, like disk, networking, management, monitoring, like all these are the here we have the different options, right? Advanced, tax. So these all the options are same. Then we need to click the submit. Then our instance is getting created. Once we got the instance, how to connect to this, I'll explain in the tomorrow session. So here this account is already expired for 30 days. Okay, so tomorrow we'll create an account, and on that we'll create the VMs. We'll connect it to those VMs. Okay, so meanwhile try to create the accounts and try to launch the VMs. Okay, yeah. Any doubts on this?